Good morning, everyone. How are you? Can you hear me okay? Is it a little bit fuzzy? Yeah, sometimes my mic does not want to work well. Let me try another one. How about this one? Is that better? Thank you so much. All right. Feedback in real time. That's what we do. All right. Welcome to Fun with Flowers Holiday Designs. And that was a perfect cue to go ahead and silence any devices that you have. That would be great. I have one that's buzzing in my butt right now. You can't hear me at all? It is on. Yes, it is on. And yes, sorry about that. Okay. So welcome to Fun with Flowers. Fun with Flowers, if you didn't know, is an educational outreach program founded by the Garden Club of Jacksonville more than 30 years ago by one of our own members, Jan Sillick. It serves as a model for similar programs offered throughout the United States. You will learn the latest professional design techniques, then create your own breathtaking floral creations during the hands-on portion of this program. I'm Denise Reagan. I'm the Executive Director of the Garden Club of Jacksonville. Also from our staff, you saw Corinne Lightfoot, our Marketing and Membership Manager. She was helping check people in at the front. So thank you to her for helping make this program a success. I'd also like to thank all of the Garden Club members who are in the audience. If you're a Garden Club member, please raise your hand. Fantastic. Give yourselves a round of applause. If you're not a member, it's always a good time to join. It's especially a good time to join now because we're having our year-end campaign. There is a flyer up there that you can take with you. We are trying to bolster our membership numbers by people becoming members. And you can also just make a donation, and we would very much appreciate it. So please look into that. There's lots of good reasons to join. And if you need a reason, you can talk to any one of the people who raised their hands or to anyone on staff. I'd also like to thank all the members of the Board of Trustees who are here with us today. I know that Julie Howard was checking people in, and I'm not sure if I saw anybody else come in this morning. There were a couple of people on the list, but apparently they couldn't make it. But I want to thank all of the Board of Trustee members who are part of our board and make it work every day. A couple of programs that are coming up that I wanted to let you know about. Our Luminaria Festival is a week from Sunday. If you haven't been to the Luminaria, it's a great opportunity to see it. We're going to have a beautiful display out here. If you've driven by at night, you've seen it's already lit up, but we'll have our Luminaria out. We'll have fun. We'll have games. We'll have music. We'll have beverages. We'll have bites. So it'll be a fun time. And this ballroom will have lots of vendors selling cool stuff. So it's a kind of a holiday pop-up shop. So come and join us. That's December 10th. So just a week away. We also have, if you're into Fun with Flowers, you'll probably be into the Designer of Distinction. This year's designer, or next year's Designer of Distinction, I should say, it's in January, is Andy Hopper. He is done a wide range of floral designs. He does a lot of work with Bloom Design Studio by HEB. They're a statewide Texas chain. And he's also a professional consultant that does designs throughout the world. He had just come back from doing work with the woman who, I can't remember her name, who had done all the floral designs for the Obamas when they were in the White House. So comes very highly recommended. We're excited to have him. So that's January 31st. Also, February next year, February 6th, we have the Power of Re. It's the last of our expanded programs, actually. What is Re? Re is reduce, reuse, recycle, repurpose, renew, repair, rethink. We're all throwing away way too much stuff. So we're going to have a panel of experts that will share ways you can keep items out of the landfill. And in that same vein, our flea market is later in February, February 23rd and 24th, and that is our giant garage sale. This whole ballroom and everywhere else will be filled with items that are secondhand. Our circles have booths, our members have booths, and members of the public have booths. It's going to be fantastic. I've already seen some of the great stuff that's being donated. You can come to the Power of Re and donate your stuff early there if you would like, so you can get it out of your house just after the beginning of the year. We have a preview party the night before, so you can get best selection and buy your stuff early. So that's February 23rd and 24th. Now I'd like to introduce our presenters for today. Anne Crane has been designing, for the Jacksonville Flower Market for 2 years, but she has been working in and out of the floral industry for 35 years. She works on the company's daily delivery orders and loves working with wildflowers. Miranda Wilson has been in the wedding industry for 8 years after graduating from the University of Florida with a degree in event management. She specializes her floral work on weddings, but also designs for corporate and other kinds of events. We're very excited to have them. If you have questions, we'll have a microphone that we can come and get you so we can capture your questions on the recording. And now, without further ado, please welcome Ann Crane and Miranda Wilson.
Good morning. Hello. This is Ann. I'm
Hi.
Miranda. Nice to see everyone today. Is this too loud? Good. Okay, great. We'll keep it there. Perfect. This is our third time here, I think. Has anyone been here before when we've taught a class? A couple people? Great. Well, good to see you guys again. We're glad to see everyone else as well. Holidays are our biggest time to do DIY classes because lots of people want to come out and learn a bunch of fun new things. And we're going to show you a couple different arrangements today, and then we'll have one that we'll all do together as well. Quick show of hands. Has anyone been to Jacksonville Flower Market? A couple. Great. So we're only 15 minutes away. We're on the intersection of Beach Boulevard and South Side. We are a full service flower market. So that means you can come in, pick your flowers by the stem or by the bunches. You can buy boxes, whatever suits your needs. Everything in the cooler we have is mostly year round. We do some seasonal flowers. We bring in some fun things for weddings and big events and things like this. Oh, sorry. Didn't talk fast. Anyway, lots of bulk flowers that you can buy. You can also purchase all of your supplies. So the vases that we're showing you today are tools like our clippers, our strippers, wires, ribbons, pine cones, etc. All of that can be purchased in store. We also do local deliveries. So if you wanted to send an arrangement out to someone, we send it all over Jacksonville. And then we also host these DIY classes at our location. So if you're interested in doing more, just keep an eye out for our social medias to see what we're offering each month. With that, we're going to start. Well, no, I'll do that last. We're going to start with a snowman arrangement. So Anne is going to show you how we're going to design, and I'm going to let you know which flowers that we're going to use for each one. So this first one is just a 4x4 snowman cube. You'll see that she used floral foam to pack the inside of it. You don't necessarily have to use foam. Before making today, since we're using minimal flowers, foam is going to help keep everything in place.
Okay. Just getting out some of the greenery. I have a variety in here. Okay. So even though we're doing Christmas, I always like to put a little bit of the generic, I guess, greenery into the arrangements just to give it a little bit more texture. All right. So we have this.
This is four of our most common greens. It fills up a lot of space in the container. If you were not using foam and we were putting this directly in the water, this is going to be one that's going to make your water pretty dirty because the stems generally come pretty dirty themselves. So just keep an eye out for your water with that. But for foam, it's fine.
We have this one.
And how do you say that one?
Podocarpus. There you go. There you go. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, we struggled with that one.
We have some pine for our
is,
Christmas green.
Yep, Princess Pine.
And we have some
Dusty Miller,
which I see grow a lot in the homes around here.
Some people know it as lamb's ear, I think.
Okay. All right. So we just want to kind of cut some pieces. So each piece you can use, you can use all of it. Okay.
So usually we start with the greens first just to cover our mechanics. So hiding your foam, hiding any plastics or tapes. Even though she's using all of the stem, you'll see that when she cuts the pieces, she's still going to strip the bottom of it. just so it has a clear edge to go into the oasis.
And we want to keep his face kind of open. We don't want to hide his face.
Get a little.
I'm just kind of filling in a little bit here and there. I might add more after I start adding flowers. And then the pine, I can't put this giant piece in. So I'm going to trim that. And then I'm going to take off the bottom pieces. And then you can also use the other piece. Okay. Now at the flower shop, we try and use every piece. We don't throw a lot away. So feel free to add in all the little pieces.
Are you doing two-sided?
Hmm?
Are you doing one-sided or
Mhm.
two?
One-sided.
So the way she's going to design this, she does have a back. So most of your flowers are going to be up at the front for it. When you design it, it's up to you. You can go all the way around. One-sided is fine, depending on where you're putting it, the flowers that you're using, or how many of them you have. The Dusty Miller is fun, but I don't know if anybody's ever really touched it. It's got a really velvety feel to it. And when they're out of water longer, they start to get really limp. So working with Oasis is a little harder for these guys because they're not going to stay very perky for very long. We're going to put it in anyway. But just keep that in mind when
Sometimes
you're
it's hard to
designing with
put
it.
into the oasis as well.
Yeah, the stems will break as you try to shove it
One
in.
way to go around that is to use another stem, make a hole, and then put the Dusty Miller inside. All right. I'm just going to put a couple pieces here in the back. And I will put some flowers in the back. I don't ever like to leave the back just greenery. Like to put a little something in there. I think I'm going to stop with the greens and start on the flowers now.
So you do 3 red.
Yep. So we have our red roses.
You get 3.
Oh, I only get 3. Okay. Sorry. All right. So we showed you the stripper. So you can use this to strip the thorns off. Whoops. That. You can also use a knife to take off the thorns and the stems. There's different ways to use it or to get the thorns off.
Some people use the knife as their shears for designing. We both prefer not to, but she does like to use them when we are cutting thorns.
And this you can make, however tall you want it to be. I'm just going to kind of go with what we usually do at the flower shop.
Still the same idea as you would do with any arrangement. When you're cutting your flowers, make sure you're cutting at a 45-degree angle just to give it enough room for absorption of water on the stem. And also so when you're poking it in the oasis, it goes in nicely.
And then we have our
White cushions. So chrysanthemum family, just small little buds. These guys are great specifically for oasis arrangements because you're going to use every single piece of this. Now, if you're doing a tall arrangement, you might use the whole stem, But for something like this, you'll see Anne's probably going to pull off them individually. So it only takes, we're only using 2 full pieces, but you'll see it go pretty far.
Now, if you wanted to make it really tall, you could maybe cut this in half and have 2 pieces. But this isn't, that's not what I'm going to do here today. I'm just going to use each individual piece.
So a fun use for these guys, it's not something we're making today, because they are so mini on a stem and they're nice and full, we use them to design things like birthday cakes. Because again, you don't need too many of these, but you can pluck off the individuals and design a cake around it. Also just good for making any shapes in general.
Here, I'm going to use some of the little ones in the back. Some of these little tiny ones I'll put in the back. And if you pull them off of the stem, you still have to cut them before you put them into water or oasis. Okay. Let's see here. I have that. Let's do the berries.
Okay, these are hypericum berries. We use these in almost all of our Christmas arrangements because the little red berries. Pretty popular look. They come in red, burgundy, pink, white, green, cream, lots of different options.
Now, one
Hypericum.
one thing you can do with these can also be used as extra greenery. The petals, if they look nice, make an extra a nice little addition for greenery.
Hypericum.
Okay, so I have one high, one low. That's kind of, a lot of arrangements are kind of like that.
Do you do something like a rule of thirds or similar to photography where you have it asymmetrical?
Not necessarily. I mean,
No.
it depends what you're designing. With our like daily orders, we're very just roundy moundy is what we call it. So as long as it's all on a curve and looks symmetrical, we do a handful of different designs that work a little bit more with symmetry. It's just up to the designer really
Yeah.
what you're going for.
A lot of our daily orders are all from like Telefloral or 1-800 Flowers, and they want it to look like the picture. So it's a lot of it's just rounding it. So you get used to that and just kind of go. All right. So the pine cones, the picture shows it like right here in the middle. It's one of those things you can kind of put it
So the way
wherever
these
you
are
want.
made so you can even put them in there was someone just took a pine cone and some hot glue and stuck a stick up there. We do this with a lot of holiday items. So like for Thanksgiving, if you wanted to put pumpkin, like the mini ones or anything, just adding the stick.
And that's
Getting-
it, right?
Yep, that's it for this
That's
one.
it. So I
this
have a
one
little
is-
bit of flowers in the back.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
The fresh roses that you're using in there, a lot of times they'll be, tight when you buy them, or they want to start falling apart. Are you putting anything in the water, or is there a way to preserve those longer in an
Before-
arrangement like that?
Oh, no, we're not putting any. I mean, the foam itself is just filled with regular water, but we didn't put anything in it. The roses, you know how to tell if a rose is fresh. Oh, fun. So a good way, also, I mean, even if they come out of the box, the best way is just to squeeze right here at the center. If it's nice and tight, it's fresh. That means its petals have a long way to open. If you squeeze it and it goes flat, you don't want it. But for things like using oasis, one of our picky flowers, which we are going to use later, is your hydrangeas. For those, there is a dip that we use. So when we cut the hydrangea, we just dip the stem in it and then stick it into our oasis, and even sometimes water. It really just helps seal the bottom for the hydrangeas. Just so I know they want more water, but how do I explain this? That's more of a preservative. essentially.
Mhm.
But we really only use that one for hydrangeas because they are so picky. The rest of them are pretty hardy, so just sticking them in the water is fine.
Yeah.
What is the name of this? I think it's like Diplo or something.
I don't think we sell it.
No, we don't. We bought it from, oh gosh, I don't
I'm
know.
sure Amazon has it. Amazon has everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it helps them a little longer because they are so finicky. I mean, one of the best things for hydrangeas, if you even see it start to wilting, is just giving it like a dunk in some ice water. It'll still look wilted for a minute, but it'll spruce right back up. Yeah. It's hit or miss. I've heard it for some people both ways. Like we've done it at the flower shop a few times and they've come up. And sometimes they just don't. They're a temperamental flower.
Yeah.
Okay. So for any more questions? Okay. Next, we're gonna make this fun one. All right. So this is our nativity scene, another teleflora or this is an FTD arrangement. So for this one, we are still using floral foam, but because we have this cute little statue, we had to build it into the foam essentially. So this one did come with a stand. I don't know if everyone can see it. There's like a little black piece under here that just attached to the bottom. If you're designing something that doesn't necessarily come from Teleflora or wherever where they have the stand provided, you don't have to build it so long as it's something that can sit on the foam itself.
Do you have in the snowman right there? Yep.
There we go.
So here's the nativity scene that you can use then after the arrangement's over. But this is the stand that it comes on or comes with. And then you would just push it into the oasis. And then you'll want to tape it. Because it's just not always
Stable. Yeah.
stable.
So we use just thin, clear Oasis tape to wrap around the entire container to keep it in place. We're going to hide the tape, obviously, when we design. Same goes for anything that you're putting inside of flower arrangement. Very common for us would be for funeral arrangements. People will bring photos of loved ones and they want them to go in the flowers. So kind of the same thing. If it's on a picture frame, we'll try to find a stand or we'll just tape it to the frame itself. But these came with a little stand, so that's nice.
Most of the stands are just like a pick. This one is different. Yeah. I haven't seen one like that before.
Yeah, but these ones are nice when we do send out for delivery because once the flowers are gone, you're left with a gift. So a lot of people would like to do those. So we're gonna start kind of the same concept as we did the last one, where we're gonna use our greenery just to fill around the base of the container, hide the stand, hide the tape, and then after that, we'll go through with all of our flowers. Yeah, it's got some water in here. Oh, sorry. She asked if the foam was wet, and it is. We went ahead and pre-soaked everything before we got here. When we were putting it together, we'll usually have the foam dry first, so it's easier to put everything in and then tape it, and then we'll go back and soak everything. But we just went ahead and did that for you this morning.
I'm going to add some pit to our greenery along with the podocarpus. Some podocarpus, some pit, pittosporum, and then some leather leaf. I'm going to add that to our mix here. So this shows the greenery coming all the way down so you don't see the container. So that's what I'm going to kind of focus on right now. And each piece has multiple sections. So I'm going to use all of them. Kind of put it in at an angle. So it's kind of covering the container there. We also want to hide our mechanics. So I'm going to hide the tape as much as possible. So I'm going to kind of place it where the tape is, and then keep going. I'm going to kind of feather in the leather in between the pit.
Leather is nice because it's got longer pieces. So the pit is formed generally like good to fill space. But this one's going to help cover down toward the bottom. Also, again, this one has lots of laterals, just like the pittis forum does, so you can break it anywhere. They are a bit more brittle than pittis forum is going to be, so they will dry out quicker, and their stems themselves are much thinner, but still good for filling.
So I just kind of filled in the back a little bit there.
So the size of your arrangement, it's going to all depend, of course, on how you cut your greens, and where you place your flowers. So for this one, we're doing something kind of nice and tight. But if you wanted to make something, like we make centerpieces with, instead of the statue, it'll be 2 candles. With Christmas greens, you can make it as long as you want.
Or even just with the leather leaf, you can cut them and have them come
Yeah.
out longer. So it's
It
more
doesn't
of a
necessarily have to
centerpiece.
be the container itself that's long, just as long as you can get long pieces of your greens and your flowers to make your shape.
Yep, that's how we usually the centerpieces start with the leather, giving us the length that we need.
Yeah. So if you were to purchase like this on the website, it would give you 3 options: a small, medium, and a large. Really, it just gets wider, and because it gets wider, it's going to get more flowers. But essentially, all that we showed you to start with is going to be the same.
This one doesn't come with any Christmas greens.
Assorted Christmas greens.
Okay.
You get extra cedar.
Yeah.
Just put it.
All right. I'm going to throw some Christmas greens in here. So we have some cedar. And this piece can be used multiple times. Lots of pieces to be had.
Cedar is great because it really has that Christmas smell to it. The pine does too. I feel like you smell it more with the cedar. This piece is really nice and pretty. Sometimes you'll get them in with little yellow, almost looks like balls. It's all pollen.
Don't get those.
They're
If you can avoid them, don't get them.
they're very pretty, and the pollen looks nice, but you give it one shake and your whole table's covered in it.
No,
So you have to watch out for those sometimes.
I don't like working with them. Your whole table after an hour is just yellow, and that's kind of gross. All right. So just adding that little bit of fluff of Christmas green kind of fills it up and makes it look pretty. All right. So I think I have kind of a lot of the mechanics hidden. The container is kind of hidden.
So this one, I think you get 4.
Want another piece of leather. So I can kind of see the front container a little bit. the front of it. So I'm going to put a piece of leather, kind of angle it down a little bit. So now it's a bit more hidden. All right.
So our white roses, you're gonna want to clean your petals, which I'm sure most people are familiar with doing. Any petals that just looks ugly, you're just gonna take it at the base and pop it off. Doesn't harm the rose at all. It's just cleaning it. Really, this happens like in transport because they're all shipped in all these boxes, and white's the most easy to get bruised. So just before you do it, pop off any of the guard petals or any ugly leaves that you have. And again, you can use your stripper or your knife to clean your stems. But she's going to cut them short anyway, so you don't have to clean much of it. Every rose has its own particular name to identify its color. So this one that we're using today is called a polar star. It's just a creamy white, opens nice and big.
Now, I don't know if you noticed, I stuck the rose in and then I took it out to put it in a different spot, but you need to recut it. Once you stick a flower in Oasis and you change your mind about it, you have to recut the bottom because the Oasis kind of goes into the stem a little bit. So you always want to recut it.
Okay, so next we have mini carnations. These guys. Most of these that we have here are open, but you might see some that are closed. These and regular carnations, you can just massage open. Just be kind of gentle, but you can push the petals back. Same thing, it won't hurt your carnation. But if you're designing for an event the same day and you get a whole bunch that are closed, they're fine if you just want to give them a nice massage.
Now you can see the difference between this stem and this stem. This one, we're only going to get one kind of cut out of this. These are all going to be too short to use. But this one, you get this piece, you get 4 different pieces from that one. So it just kind of depends on the stem, how many pieces you'll get. And this is kind of a one-sided as well, but I am going to fill in the back a little bit more than I did with the snowman. Then we have next.
We're using more white cushions. So again, cushions are good fillers. The recipe did also call for Star of Jerusalem. Is anyone familiar with that flower? A Star of Jerusalem? Star of Jerusalem, Bethlehem. Sorry, Star of Bethlehem. Its shape is very similar to freesia. Its stem, though, is very thick, or it's thicker than freesia would be. But it blooms about the same, where it's only about this big, and they're little white flowers. Convenient for this arrangement since it's the nativity scene, but we don't have any in stock today.
So I'm just going to fill in kind of where I feel there's too much greens. I mean, everyone makes their own style. Do I get all of these
Yep,
palms?
all of these are yours.
Wow. I might not use them all. Don't want to hide baby Jesus. So since I have some extra cushions, I'm going to fill in the back a little bit more.
So so the question was, is there a secret to using the tape? Not
No.
necessarily.
It's like Scotch tape when you're wrapping Christmas presents. It's awful. Or
Yeah.
packing tape when you're trying to pack a box and it gets stuck.
The clear one. I mean, I feel like the green, thick, waterproof tape is much easier to work with. 'Cause
Yes.
that's more like a duct tape. But yeah, the clear one's always been kind of flimsy.
This would be my preferred choice. This one, it's thicker. You can see, you can pick up on the end piece. You can actually tear it. The clear, not so much.
Yeah, the only problem is you really need to use the clear when you're trying to hide it. So like we
Yeah.
couldn't use the green here, but if we were working with something that it blended in or was gonna get covered anyway, like when we use a
That's not always true because I use the green for everything.
oh,
I would have used green for that.
I would not have. Steven's opinion. When we design big pieces that go on like tall stands, you're not gonna.
Well, then you don't want, yeah.
yeah,
don't
you want something that's really sturdy, so you would use your green anyway because this might just come right off if it moves.
But I covered up all the most of the tape, so the green, you wouldn't have seen the green anyway.
And then you've got a little sign.
Oh, our little sign, yes.
Nope. Lisa's is kind of down there.
Do we need a pick? Is there an extra pine cone up here?
Mhm.
Yeah, I'll show how to put it.
Yeah, this one's kind of low.
So you can take a pick, which we sell these as well. And you can tape it. I'll use the clear tape.
I would use the green tape.
All right. So you just kind of tape it on there nice and tight. Does
It says Jesus, God's gift to every heart.
did it even give it any more height? There we go. Maybe
Something like that.
gives it a little bit more height.
Just like a little banner.
Yeah.
And that finishes this one. So for these two arrangements that have oasis in them, the oasis is going to dry because the water is still going to get absorbed through those flowers. So the best way to keep them alive longer, just take a water bottle, pour a little bit into the oasis.
Mhm.
So now we're going to do our snowman picture. This one came with its lid. So again, something you can use after the flowers have wilted.
This one, you can use Oasis, the foam, or you can use it as just as a vase. So it comes with this one comes with this. If it didn't, as long as this is good for liquids, you can just use it without those. But we're gonna do it today just in water and no Oasis.
So for this one, we've got a bunch of eucalyptus.
Yeah.
I think if you want to use some pit or salal.
So similar to the one that we're going to be making today, there's no foam. So you kind of want the greenery to give you a little base for the flowers. Otherwise, the flowers are just going to kind of go off to
move
the
around.
side and not stay. Sorry.
Generally, when I design, I think you do this too. We'll start with the greens first, just so it
Mhm.
holds the flowers in place.
Yeah.
That way, when you're putting things in, it doesn't always fall away to the side.
And you do want to take off the green, any petals in the water, because it will make the water dirty, and just after a couple days it'll just kind of get gross. So you want to make sure you clear off the petals. All right. So I want a little variety of greens in here.
You get a lot of options.
Yes.
So this one is salal or lemon leaf. Another common one. Salal, pittosporum, and leather leaf that we just use are the 3 bases that we all work with.
Yes.
We'll put eucalyptus and other things in there, but generally those 3, they're the most inexpensive, and they just come with so many different stems. So they're the best to use for us.
You can kind of measure. I don't know if you noticed, I kind of took the greenery and measured it to the vase. Kind of gives you an idea. If you go too short, you can't grow the greenery, but so don't always go short.
So when we're designing, the way we determine how tall we want our arrangement to be is generally we want to be double the size of the vase. So our vase is however long, we at least want to go up this high, just so it's symmetrical. Again, you can go taller, shorter, depending on what you want it to look like. That's just like our across the board guideline.
Now the eucalyptus will be my tall flower, my tall greenery. And I'm going to take the bottoms off.
After you do that, your hands are going to smell very good, but they will be sticky.
Yes, they will be sticky.
The question was, do we ever tape the vase to make a grid?
No.
I mean, I have for
Have you?
weddings.
Okay.
We don't do it very often.
I saw someone do it in the office.
Shu
not
was
that long
doing it
ago.
yesterday, I think,
Okay.
with something. But we like to use chicken wire if we can, because it's the same concept. If you get a vase that chicken wire doesn't necessarily work in, or if it's a clear vase and you just don't want to see the chicken wire, then I would do the tape method. We do that, I feel like more often with organic arrangements where you want things kind of sticking out in different directions, but you don't necessarily want to fill it with a lot of greens. Also, just depending on like the shape of the vase, sometimes it's easier to work with that.
This is the seeded eucalyptus. It has little berries on there. This is one of my favorites.
So seeded and spiral, of course, both in the eucalyptus family. This one does have a bad season, just from what I've noticed working at the store. Doesn't really like June, July, and August. Usually the berries are pretty dried up. The leaves are more of like a brownish color. Right now they look nice and full, and you can see all the nice bright green pieces, but usually in the summer they don't come in as well.
They don't. All right, I think I'm done with all that greenery. What do I get with this one?
You get red roses, white
Nice.
status, and many carnations.
So we use a lot of the purple status in flower arrangements. It does also come in pink, and white and yellow. Sorry. Pink, white, and yellow. It also comes in. I'm not sure if there's other colors.
Of status?
Yeah.
I have not seen other colors.
Right. And then a couple pine cones. Right.
And I think we're going to do a bow.
A bow. Okay. So this is another one-sided kind of arrangement. They're all one-sided today.
You could make it all the way around if you wanted to. It doesn't have too many flowers.
Yeah. So if we want to make it more rounded, I'm going to move my eucalyptus around a little bit. Okay.
So what she's doing to decide where she wants to cut her flower, just an easy way to see it is if you scoot your vase up to the table and then hold your flower where you want it. If we want it to be this tall, you'll cut at the base of the table. just so you're not guessing and then you put it in, you have to cut it some more, or you cut it too short and you can't do anything with it. Yeah, yeah, you can add a stem. We do that with several flowers actually. Orchids are a pretty common one. They have lots of buds on them, and sometimes the buds are just way too many to use. So you'll cut it in half, and half of it gets a stem and the other half doesn't. So we'll put it on a water tube and then put the stick on it. Tape it and put it in an arrangement. That way you choose the full amount of your flower. It's just, sometimes the orchids have the buds at the bottom, so they're hard to see anyway.
Status is normal, is one of our filler flowers. Nice to just fill in the spots.
You said you can't bring yourself to cut the orchid? The question was, how long will they last once you put them in a water tube? You're only going to get a couple days out of them. Usually, for example, like we just made wedding bouquets yesterday and they had orchids. They only need them for the night, so it's going to be fine. But if it's something you want it to go a little further, I mean, you'll have to fill the water tube. It'd be the same as putting it in water, but it's not going to last too long. So these are also mini carnations. They just came with 2 tones in color, and same thing. These are fresh because they're a little tighter.
When you're putting it in a vase arrangement and a tall arrangement, you can't really get a lot off the one stem. Had I been using the Oasis, I could have used this piece, and then have a longer piece. But because it's such a long, tall arrangement, you're only going to get, just the one stem, a flower.
Do we use different temperature water for different flowers to help them open? No. I mean, yes and no. In general, the water that we use for all of our flowers is the same. But if you're having a hard time getting something to open, we'll put it in warmer water. So if you get mini carnations, or Lysianthus is a really popular one, that the blooms just are taken, their sweet time opening, and you need it tomorrow, then we'll change that water for warm water to kind of pick it up a little bit.
Okay, so we have this. We're going to add a bow and some
Pine cones?
Pine cones. You can always add another stick to make it longer if you need to. We have some pine cones on long sticks back at the shop. We have that.
Take it away.
I'm not a good bow explainer, but see, I don't want it to be too big of a bow. So the wire ribbon, this has a little bit of a wire on the edge. They're always easier to use than the non-wired ribbon. But the biggest thing is just twisting.
So make a loop.
So yeah, you're gonna make one loop, kind of
pinch it
together with my thumb and my forefinger. Come around, do another loop, and just kind of push it into those 2 fingers again. And I'm only gonna do 2 on each side. All right, and I am gonna do a lot of bows always look prettier with an extra tail. So after you do the bow, you just add an extra tail. So just an extra piece there. There you go. And you can use chenille, pipe cleaners, or wire. We sell the wire and the pipe, the chenille at the store as well. Just twist that. Then after you twist it, you can manipulate it, especially with the wire. You can kind of move it around and make it however you want it to be. And then normally I would put this on a pick and put it into the arrangement. I'm just going to kind of up. There we go. Oh, yes. Our lid. Our lid. There you go.
Okay, so we've got one more arrangement to make, and this one is going to be the one that we're all going to make together.
So this is one where you could tape it and grid it.
Yeah, you could with
You
this
could,
one.
yeah. It's that type of an arrangement.
We are going to do a different technique though that's going to help keep it together, besides the oasis or the taping method. Could you grab me one more pine cone?
We have our greenery. Oh, I got extra.
Those look nice.
So instead of taping it, I'm gonna kind of make a grid with the greenery, kind of like I did in the vase, but it'll be a little bit more in here. I'm just gonna kind of place your slough or leather leaf and kind of do a crisscross. So I have them going different ways. And that's going to be instead of our grid or instead of taping it. Just kind of crisscross. So now I have one on each corner. I'm going to add a little bit of the cedar. Same concept. Take off the bottom pieces. Okay, so now it kind of gives us that grid type. I don't know if you can see. Now there's little holes that you can put the flowers in. Okay, the hydrangeas, here. Not for this arrangement. This arrangement, it shows the stems, but
So our final step, we're going to use a pipe cleaner. We'll show you. If she lifts it up, it's all going to come out in one piece. This is good for low arrangements, because they if you're taking them somewhere when we're out doing deliveries, they have the tendency to shift in the car. But if they're all together, generally they won't move from the vase. And if they did, you could just pop it right back in.
all right.
So now we're going to use our blue hydrangea.
Take off the petals. The leaves, sorry. All the lights up here, it's messing with me. All right. I'm just gonna kind of look it over. Sometimes they get a little brown spot. All right. Everyone, I like it to be a little bit more into the greenery. Just kind of want to set it in there like that. Now we would have, had we been at the shop, we would have dipped it in that,
Yeah, we didn't
in
bring it with us.
preservative, right?
A little easier to work with, or not work with. It's okay to not use it when you're putting them directly into water, but it is better when we're using things like Oasis for the
Mhm.
preservative.
I did look up what that is that
Mhm.
you dip it into, and the powder is alum powder,
Alum, yes.
and so it's the same thing that you buy on the spice style.
You can, yeah.
That's that white powder,
Mhm.
you know, and you can also buy it in bigger containers off of Amazon or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's what you're looking for, and it prevents it from forming a skin and so that it can still absorb water. That's the purpose of it.
Ah, yes. Thank
Nice.
you.
All right, so the delphinium, we have this huge piece, but we can cut this down into 2, sometimes 3, just depends on the arrangement. So I'm going to kind of do the measurement trick.
Yeah, so she's bringing like her or
Put it up
I guess
there.
easier to see here, and she's determining where she wants her flower to come out of the vase.
Yeah, I don't want it to be too tall. So I'm going to cut it like around here. So that way you're not just eyeballing it. You can actually see where it would go. Yes. I'm going to use it twice. I'm going to use, it will be. It will be.
You could cut it shorter. It's just like more in the middle, but if you did that, you wouldn't see like these pieces as much. You're gonna have to take those off.
I'm going to take these off. Place that in there. And then I have this piece, which we're not going to see any of this anyway. Like that.
If you
So it's
cut
still
this one
cute.
too short, you might like if you were to go directly in the middle, say this one came up shorter than you'd want it to, then you're picking it just to make it the length that you want.
I'm going to do the same here. I'm going to get 2 out of this. And this, the bottom half will have an extra little piece there. And I'm actually going to cut that off. And even though it's just one little flower, I'm still going to put it in. All right. We have that. And we have our white roses. And we're going to take the outside petals off. If you want to show them how to do the...
Oh yeah, you can spin them if you want to get them to open more. These ones are again pretty tight, so they've got quite a way. But if you want to just twirl your hands at the base, that usually helps open them. Or if you really want, you can pop your petals backward. But this is going to create a new design. If you're gentle, it doesn't. Especially with roses that aren't white, it's really easy to do these. This one will be fine though. It's a little different.
Now with the hydrangea, you can put the flowers directly into the hydrangea. Like that. Kind of gives it a different, there's just different ways to do it. That's interesting. Not sure I like it, but
I'm gonna make our roses match
okay.
real quick.
sometimes we make things we don't like. All right, so I have 2 of the mini cairns. I'm gonna have one going up and one coming down. Just now this one I can get multiple flowers off of. That's all our flowers, right?
Yep. And then we've just got pine cones.
I'm gonna
and
put the
some
pine cones in
balls.
after I chenille it. So I'm gonna add the extras after I chenille it. So you're just gonna kind of take everything from the bottom up, and you want to loose hands, not tight. And so everything's really loose. Just gonna kind of wrap this around. Again, not squeezing it, not holding it too tight.
The more you squeeze it, when you put it back in, you're probably going to have to do another cut across the bottom. So it brings the flowers back down to the size of the vase.
Just twist it 2 to 3 times on one side, and then the other side, you're going to twist it again just a little bit, just to get a little bit there. And we do trim it just a little bit. And then just kind of place it back in. You can kind of pull it out a little bit. So we have that. So it's in there. It's not going to go anywhere.
Now, if you didn't want to see your stems, something that we do a bunch is we'll take a tie leaf or a banana leaf, peel off the center of it so it's a bit more flimsy, and then you can just wrap the inside of your vase with the green leaf so it hides all of your stems. And some people like the clear vase and they want to see it, and sometimes it's just not as pretty. Yes, ma'am?
The tie leaf. Oh, once
Sorry,
once
so the question was,
Oh.
how do you get your leaf to stay in the vase if you
Mhm.
are going to wrap it?
Mhm.
Go ahead.
So once you put it in, did you cut the center off to make it more flexible? Okay.
So they usually have like a spine
Mhm.
essentially, and we shave that down because that's what gives it its flexibility. Then after that, it's really just molding it into the vase.
And it might not stay perfectly, but once you start putting your greenery and your flowers in there, it will kind of move out into the edges of the vase. All right, so we're just gonna add some pine cones and some Christmas balls. Oops, that one doesn't have a stick. I took it off. Kind of put them wherever you like. I'm gonna put all of mine in together. But kind of just whatever works for you. And there you have that one.
So taking care of these arrangements, just like I mentioned earlier with the oasis, take a bottle of water, fill it up every day, just so the oasis isn't dry. Your flowers are still getting water. Arrangements like these, just change your water out every few days, especially if you see it getting dirty. Things that are going to make it dirty would just be your leaves hitting the water. Other than that, should last 4 or 5 days, 5, 6 days. When you do go to your tables, you're going to have all of your greens and your flowers, your balls and your pine cones for your arrangements. You're also going to have this trade your vase ticket. So we provided all the vases today. If you guys have more than enough vases at home that you don't want, just bring the vase back with this ticket and we'll give you $10 of free flowers for your vase. And if you just have more vases that you don't want, you can donate those as well.
Do we have any last questions?
Oh, yeah. So we do a monthly special. Each month it's a different flower that's on special. Usually it is about $1. Sometimes we'll do a bigger flower. So for December, it is going to be hydrangeas, but it won't be $1 a stem. I'm pretty sure it'll be $2 a stem. They're usually $4. It's usually about half price. So for the month of November, it was daisies, and we did $1 per stem for your daisies. Next month it'll be hydrangeas, and so on. We kind of adjust for the seasons. But every month it's different. If you want, there is a text club. So we'll just send out a message that says what the flower of the month is, or if we're doing a DIY class, or if we have any specials. Yes, ma'am. The question was, where do we get our flowers? All over, really. It depends which flowers. Everything ships into Miami, and we have trucks that bring them up here. From Miami, they come from Ecuador, Holland, Colombia, California. Some things are grown locally. We get all of our potted orchids from a vendor here, as well as our poinsettias and all of our green plants. I know a few dahlia vendors here because those are a bit harder to get. Other than that, pretty much out of the country.
Any other final questions? All right. Can we give them a big round of applause? All right. And we will be holding a raffle. Most of you bought your tickets on the way in, but the 4 arrangements that they made during this will be raffled off. Go forth and make.